Southfield Zoning Board of Appeals. For those of you who haven't joined us before, let me briefly describe how we conduct business. The city will call the case by the case number. They'll read a brief description of the case. We ask that the appellant step to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and also sign in on the sign-in sheet, and then explain to the board what you're asking for and why. The city will then read the findings of fact. We'll ask you to agree with those facts or add any other facts at that time, and then we'll get a staff recommendation. You'll have an opportunity to speak again after the staff recommendation. Then we'll open public comment on the case. So if you're here to speak to any case, that would be your opportunity to speak to the board. And then we'll turn it over to the board to make a decision and then move on to the next case. And then I'll lead you through each of those steps. But will the city call the first, we will call the roll, please.
Ms. Defoe. Mr. Friedman.
Here.
Mr. Rogers.
Here.
Ms. Libet.
Present.
Mr. Jenkins.
Present.
Mr. Havas. Acting Chairperson, you have a quorum to conduct business.
Thank you. Will the city call the first case, please?
Case number 24-35. The appellant, Randall Blackman, representing RSB Estates LLC owner, is requesting the following variances from the board. Section 5.28, Part 2, a variance for screening of outside storage from the Maple Ridge Avenue right-of-way, 72 inches required, 48 inches proposed. Section 5.28, Part 4, a variance for outside storage heights required below the height of the screening wall, proposed north side 24 feet tall, south side 48 feet tall, west side no wall, mulch piles maximum 30 feet tall, which is a change to the legal notice. Section 5.28, Part 5, a waiver of the outside storage setback from the right-of-way, required 20 feet, proposed 0 feet from Maple Ridge. The property is located on the north side of Maple Ridge Avenue, west of Boning Drive, at 20921 Maple Ridge Avenue, Sidwell parcel number 2435351-042, zoned I-1 industrial. This appeal is to Section 5.28, Article 22, Chapter 45 of the Southfield City Code, more commonly known as the zoning ordinance.
Thank you. Would the appellant state your name and address, please?
Sure, thank you. My name is Randy Blackman. The business resides at 19400 West 8 Mile and the adjacent property on Boning Drive. Would you like me to repeat this again from 2 weeks ago? Start fresh?
We've heard it before, but state briefly what you're asking for.
Just didn't want to waste your time. Thank you. So there's a number of requests in there, but basically we've purchased the southern parcels that we're expanding the operation into. We're also doing everything we can to coexist within the neighborhood. And we've brought experts out and engineers out, machine manufacturers, engineering, the planning commission, the fire marshal, to all review the plan that we have to make this as suitable as possible for everyone in the area. And we need these variances to execute that plan.
Thank you. Will the city read the finding of facts, please?
Yes, sir. The appellant, Randall Blackman, representing RSB Estates LLC, owner, is requesting the following variance from the board. Section 5.28, paragraph 2, a variance for screening of outside storage from the Maple Ridge Avenue right-of-way, 72 inches required, 48 inches proposed. Section 5.28, paragraph 4, a variance for outside storage height required below the height of the screening wall, proposed north side 24 feet tall, south side 48 feet tall, west side no wall, mulch piles maximum of 30 feet tall. Section 5.28, paragraph 5, a waiver of the outside storage setback from the right-of-way, required 20 feet, proposed 0 feet from Maple Ridge Avenue. This property is located on the north side of Maple Ridge Avenue, west of Boning Drive, at 20921 Maple Ridge Avenue, Sidwell parcel 2435351-042, zone I-1 industrial. The property is currently developed as a wood mulch facility in zone I-1 industrial. The properties to the north and west are zone R1 single family. The properties to the south and east are zone I-1 industrial. The total site contains 7.65 acres of land with approximately 300 feet of frontage along Maple Ridge Avenue. Due to the property's use, the existing location of mulch piles stored outside does not meet the screening requirements or height requirement for outside storage.
Thank you. Do you agree with those facts? Do you have anything else to add?
No, I agree with that as stated.
Okay, we will, could the city read the staff recommendation?
Staff recommendation is favorable consideration based upon the following. The existing location and height of the mulch piles are done for practical use in order to minimize the risk of spontaneous combustion. The waivers will allow for safe and functional use of the property and will help with noise dampening of operations on the surrounding area. The proposed screening, height, and setback waivers for the existing use is in keeping with the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance, and per the acting fire marshal, he has also reached out, done a site visit, and has agreed that as long as the items of the plan for the site are adhered to, he approves of the company having piles up to 30 feet.
Thank you. Would now like to open public comment on this case. If anybody would like to speak on this case, please step forward to the microphone, state your name and address. And
Through the chair, he can read his letter that he submitted today.
would you like to read the letter or sum it up?
We don't know who he is.
Timothy Bannon.
Okay,
No, we can have you read it.
yeah, your name and your,
I have a copy right here for you.
My name's Tim Bannon, 19669 Melrose. Okay. I'm strongly opposed to increasing the height of the mulch piles. The dust from AMP operations drift into my yard. One day, I had my car parked and a half an inch of dust accumulated on its windshield wipers. In the past, dense clouds of particles have 100 feet taller than the top of my mature pine trees in the front of my yard. These trees are about 300 feet from the property line. I cannot open the windows of my homes because the dust will come in. I was forced to install central air. Randy, the owner of AMP, spoke to me after the postponed meeting on August 3rd and said he believes a 30-foot tall berm would help solve this problem. It will not. The increased ice only makes the problem worse. At the zoning meeting on June 17th, Randy told the board that the neighborhood was in favor of raising the pile to that height. Last Saturday, I walked the neighborhood and asked them their opinion. All of them, except one, considered increasing the pile height to be a bad idea. The one that didn't was a young woman who didn't use her yard, and she was uncommitted. She said she liked Randy because of all the free stuff he would give her. I believe that AMP's interests have a higher priority than the interest of the neighborhood because of all the free stuff his company gives them. In the past, they've given him free mulch, free tipping fees. It's handy to drop it off there. Randy says he is trying to improve the condition of the neighborhood, and that he purchased more property to move the grinders farther from the residences, and this will help stop the chunks of wood from flying into their land. Also, it'll reduce the noise. On June 6th, he had said he hadn't been able to do it yet because the city hasn't given him permission yet to move his equipment there. AMP is a very poor neighbor. The problem isn't him, it's from you and the city government. You put the high-impact business in the neighborhood where it didn't belong. You bought up this neighborhood. It was a residential neighborhood behind me. The city bought it up and rezoned it and turned it industrial. You put the interest of the AMP over the interest of the neighbors. In the 70s, the city did it a better way. They wanted more industrial zoning, and they didn't want to put the burden on the neighborhoods, so they purchased a section of Melrose west by Lasher and zoned it for warehouse and office. That was a buffer area, and the impact of the waste company that they moved there didn't affect them. I lived in Southfield on that street when I grew up, and I'm used to living in industrial noise. Okay. Randy said he's working to lower the impact of his business, and I do believe him. He's tried to do what he could to lower it. The fact is, it's a type of business that doesn't belong, but it's there, so we have to coexist. Randy thinks raising the height will help. I don't. On June 6th, Randy said his company has never had piles higher than 15 feet. And I know that can't be true because I see semi-trucks drive by. They're 12-foot tall semi-trucks, and they're just dwarfed by the piles. He has 3 grinders. One's electric, it's very quiet. The other 2 are diesel, they're noisier. He showed me the decibel levels on the chart. I don't know if all 3, the two diesels are the same, but he says, he showed me them. But they're not always used at normal operating. Sometimes he has to crank them up to do the heavy stuff. That's the reason why he uses the heavy diesel ones. The electric grinder isn't strong enough to do the larger items. We can live with the normal operating levels, but when they crank it up, it's just too loud. I think the solution to that would be to put in real-time monitoring so that if it does get too loud, the office can tell him to turn him down, and it doesn't affect the neighborhood so badly. My suggestions to lessen the impact to the neighborhood would be 1, keep the first grind piles when he's doing the first grind to the 15-foot. That way there's not so much drop and it won't catch into the air and go so high and bother the whole neighborhood with the dust. I mean, this affects his time. It costs him more because he'd have to keep repositioning the conveyor belts. But that's what would do the most help to the neighborhood.
Thank you, Mr. Carnahan. Your letter that you submitted will be added to the record for this case.
Can we ask questions? I was wondering what the pile height limit is right now, and when was it established? I asked earlier, but I never got an answer from the
The
city.
variance request is for a pile of 30 feet.
Pardon?
For 30 feet.
He's allowed 30 feet already?
That is what he's asking for.
Oh, no, but I mean, what is he currently allowed? You don't know? He didn't know. He hasn't gotten back with me, so I don't know what to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak on this case?
Good afternoon to each and every one of you. My name is Evangeline Glover. My residence is 20966 Evergreen Road, and my backyard is in the in the back of the American mulch.
Speak directly into the mic.
Sure. Good afternoon to each and every one of you. My name is Evangeline Glover. My address is 20966 Evergreen Road, right there in Southfield, and my backyard is adjacent to the American mulch producers. And I know this is the zoning, but we have been to several other meetings to decide what the mulch wall would be. As of my neighbor on my rows, I did have an issue at first, but when I talked to Mr. Blackman, he had increased the mulch, and I have not had a problem since in my backyard. I can't speak on other residents' issues and concerns, but so far I've talked to Randy. He has been a good partnership within the community with me. If I have any concerns, he has worked those concerns out. He answered my calls and he returns my call. And I really didn't want to go backwards now that we're at zoning or the things that we have discussed. And again, I cannot speak for other residents and what they experience. But so far, after the concern that I've had, Mr. Blackman has been cooperative, he's been a good partner, and we have worked things out. So at this point, I hope that we will not go backwards and we will go forward, and whatever other residents can do what they can to resolve their concern, that would be important to the community.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak on this case?
My name's Terry Bannon. I live at 19049 Melrose, down the street from my brother here. I've lived there since 1959. The house my brother lived in, my grandparents moved in there in the late 40s. So we're no newcomers to Southfield. Back there where the American mulch is just destroying everything there. They've pushed over cattails, which is illegal in Michigan right now. When they first moved in there, it was agreed upon here that they could not use the entire property because it's wetland. And they've dozed it under. You don't see the dragonflies like you used to. The frogs are about gone. You know, back when I was a kid, there used to be Griffin Drain running through there. We had all kinds of wildlife. Everything's gone except for the coyotes, and we're overwhelmed with deer right now. I'm just getting over Lyme disease from the deer tick. I go down to my brother's to try and help him keep up with the gardening because he plants a large garden in the backyard. And he's, 72? He was born in 53. I was born in 54. But he's having to work. He still works landscaping. And that's a hard job. It's ridiculous that I can't go down there and give him a hand because there's just a snowstorm of dust coming down. They raise their conveyor belt way up in the air, and when they grind it, the conveyor belt takes it to the top of the pile. Top of the pile is way down here, and it's up here in the air. They're cleaning their product with the wind. It knocks all the dust out of the product, so when it gets to the customers, it's clean product, and it drifts all over the neighborhood. It's a trick of the trade. I used to work at Eagle Landscaping for years. You know, before I quit driving over the road, I was a truck driver. And it cleans his product. It comes down on our houses. It comes in our screens. It lands on the roof. It builds up around the house and drifts. And if the drifts after a while, your lawn starts building up over top of the sidewalks. You're getting buried in all that clutter. You know, it's as bad as a snowstorm. Snow melts away though. It turns to water. The dust that comes down doesn't turn to water. You breathe it in your lungs. My lungs are terrible shape. You know, I don't think I'm going to last another year. That's how bad my lungs are. You know, they got to do something about lowering that elevator, not getting the dust in the air, and the piles are way too high. When he first made an agreement to let him on that property, the lawyer that was working on the case said the piles were going to be 10 foot tall. If you go back in your records, when he first started, before he even bought the property or was mulching there, it was supposed to be 10 foot tall piles. Right now, they're 30 foot tall already. You know, if you've ever gone by there, he's got a conveyor that's capable of just going, super high. And when he wants clean product, he just raises it up in the air and lets the wind carry all the dust away throughout the neighborhood. You know, the animals in the neighborhood, they can't get a drink of fresh water. Your dog goes out in the backyard. What's the dog do? Sniffs the ground, inhales all that dust. You know, it's killing the animal, you know, killing our
For
pets.
the chair to the board, I'm sorry to interrupt, his time limit is up.
Okay,
Time limit is up?
Thank you for your comment.
Okay, I hope you understand what I'm talking about.
We do. You oppose the variance. Would anybody else like to speak on this case?
Hello, everybody. My name is Frank Savage. I'm the owner of the property at 19717 Melrose. I came up to testify that the dust and the settlements that this kicks up when they are turning this stuff, we can hardly breathe. My wife and I had a patio put in. We can't even go over and enjoy the patio. We can't cook out. When the wind is blowing, it's bringing all the dust from the mulch over onto the patio. It's bad. My wife got asthma. Sometimes we be sitting out and that'll start her asthma, trigger that. It's bad. I think something needs to be done about the mulch and how it's being distributed into the air. We can't even sleep with the windows open at night. We'd like to get a little fresh air sometime. And the smell just comes in through the window. It is bad. That's what I would like to testify to today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak on this case? Seeing none, I'd like to close public comment and turn it over to the board. Ms. Libet?
So what I hear mostly is that it's not the height necessarily of the mulch, but the problem is with the height of the conveyor belt. Because I understand that in order to clean the mulch, it's the conveyor belt that allows all the dust to flow. May I ask the question is that what I heard?
Public comment is closed. We can ask
The-
Mr. Blackman.
I don't understand what you're saying.
The time for public comment is closed. We were directing the question to Mr. Blackman.
Thank you. I can tell you, first of all, I'm not the original owner of American Mulch Producers. This was a previous owner. I purchased it 6 years ago. I can tell you in 6 years of being in the mulch business, I've never once heard the term, the explanation, or the description of cleaning mulch. So I've never heard that. That is not an activity we participate in. What is being referenced is as material moves from conveyor to conveyor, it does have some exposure to the air and the wind. So this whole plan is to help the neighbors with that, to move the process further away, to allow us to have, we've already purchased on order in anticipation of a favorable review, conveyors that can then be dedicated and allow us to spread it out further to avoid the differential in height, right? That was the idea of buying the other space. That's why we've had experts out, the equipment people, who I can always respect my neighbor's opinion, but I can tell you the industry and the industry experts would disagree with their opinion, as would I. And that as there is going to be inevitable some airborne dust, the 30-foot height can only help contain that dust versus the current 15. To clarify the question from earlier, the current allowed height is 15. That extra 15 feet is going to help with the noise, it's going to help with the dust conveyance and the debris. It won't hurt it, it will help it. And that's what the industry would support as well. Does that answer your question, ma'am?
It does, but the second part of my question is that you're asking for a setback from the right-of-way, required 20 and 0 is what it would be. So if the setback was still 20, would that help with the noise and the dust as well?
Through the chair, the setback is based on existing conditions. When he came for site plan review, we worked with him to get the site up to compliance as best we could. But to get it to the required setback would require a complete reorganization of the property, which was undue considering the request.
Is this the setback on the right-of-way in the property? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
So when this was originally done 10 years ago, again, prior to my time, apparently, and there was a miss. This all should have been done at that time, and that right-of-way wasn't vacated, that we discovered through this exercise. So we had to then resubmit what should have been done with the original set of plans 10 years ago. We realized that was never vacated, so it was about vacating that right-of-way that is on the original plans. It doesn't impact the business at all or what we do. I think it's just getting the paperwork caught up.
Mm-hmm.
That was really more a request of the planning department than of mine.
This is a hard one because the zoning is really the problem. It's a residential neighborhood next to an industrial problem, an industrial service, and that is not what we can work with. That is not the question of the height. It seems that trying to increase the heights might help in sometimes, but there are all kinds of things going on here, all kind of movements. And there's nothing that we can do in this group to change the fact that it is an industrial area, to change the fact that the lowering or the increase of the height may not work for what it is that you would ask. My heart goes out to you, but I just don't think that we can solve this problem.
Mr. Rogers?
Yeah, I mean, we're, as the zoning board, we're ruling on whether this proposed 30 feet is acceptable. That's the variance. The residents are coming in here and talking to us about the fact that this zoning, this industrial zoning has changed the fabric of their subdivision because it went from whatever it was before American Mulch till now this tree grinding company that makes a lot of mulch and dust and all that stuff. I think that's probably what Ms. Libet's saying is out of our parameters of our, you know, what our decision is today. I do know that the last meeting you had mentioned that this was a first line of trying to prevent the problem from, you know, overflowing into the residential area. And I know that that's what you're going to try to do. You're going to work with the neighbors. Yes, because you're up against the neighbors, physically, the property. So we're here to vote on whether a 30-foot mulch pile is a good barrier, is a barrier for that. So if the fire department says it's okay, then it's technically okay by me, but it doesn't alleviate all the residents' issues with American Mulch, what they do for during the day. And while you might be able to put in decibel level measurement meters and things like that, that may or may not be part of the future, but all I can say right now is that it's zoned industrial, this is who's on the property, this is what they do, and the owner's trying to sufficiently create a barrier that won't allow a lot of this debris carry over into the residential neighborhood. We have no other avenue to talk about. It's not like we can't shut down change the industrial zoning. That's not what we do here. We're voting on the fact, is this barrier that's being asked, is that height acceptable? And to me it is, because the appellant has no choice but to try level one. Level one is creating this big mulch barrier pile to lower the decibels and all that stuff. And so if that doesn't work, that's another story. And but once again, that's not what we can't worry about the future. We have to worry about what we have right now. We have an owner that's willing to work with the residents, and they're asking for a variance of a certain height. I can't say no to that because the fire department says it's okay, so it meets the safety features of the code. And that's where I'm holding.
Mr. Jenkins?
My concern is what the neighborhood is feeling. I understand the zoning and I understand the fire marshal, but I'm also concerned about how the neighbors are living in their space And I'm asking, is there anything you can do to satisfy their concerns?
Yeah, there's a lot we have already done and continuing to do. As I mentioned, we purchased, the whole start of this was to move the process further away. We're looking at it, we've ordered more equipment. Once we have the additional space and the okay to use it, then we're committed. Regardless of the decision tonight, I can assure you to this committee, we are committed to coexisting the best we can. And we've had experts out, and this is the plan that's endorsed. The new equipment will help. There are some trade-offs, right? There's some other things we can do, but then that creates another problem. So we're trying to balance all that and find the sweet spot that works for everyone. And we are 100% committed to that. We're a family-owned company. It's my family. The neighbors, the Bannons, those in favor, those against, they have my cell phone. They can call me. I work with them. So yeah, this is step one of surviving in this unique, as Ms. Libet said, in this unique relationship for a very long time.
Okay, so for the record, you're saying that you're going to solve the problem that the residents are having with the dust, and
I am committed to working towards a resolution from the day I bought it 6 years ago for the next 6 years and the next 20 years, for the record.
Okay, so for the record, you are going to appease the residents in regard to not having that dust problem they're concerned with right now. That is correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay, as for me, the neighbors have stated that they're opposed. There have been 13 letters received today, which will be added to the record, who oppose it. All of them, to my knowledge, oppose it because of the dust and the
noise.
And the noise. And as Mr. Blackman has stated, the raising of the variance for the dust piles will help and not hurt with that process. So in essence, the neighbors are opposed to the company itself and trying to oppose the thing. So I would be voting for the variance. Mr. Rogers, would you make a motion?
In regards to ZBA case 24-35, the appellant.
Time for public comment is closed. Time for public comment is closed.
Well, it was kind of cut off because he wouldn't answer. I had asked a question from you, I had asked this question from him earlier in the week, and he never got back to me. And it kind of made me frustrated, so I never got to finish my
Sir, you had a chance. Your three-page letter is in the record. The statement you made is on the record. Public comment is closed. Sir, please sit down.
Okay, this is not right. This is not right. You should all be ashamed of yourselves. Very about myself.
In regard to ZBA case 24-35, the appellant Randall Blackman, representing RSB Estates LLC, owner, is requesting the following variance from the board. Section 5.28, Section 2, a variance for screening of outside storage from the Maple Ridge Avenue right-of-way, 72 inches required, 48 inches proposed. Section 5.28, Section 4, a variance for outside storage height required below the height of the screening wall. Proposed north side 24 inches tall, south side 48 inches tall, west side no wall, mulch piles maximum 30 feet tall. Section 5.28, Section 5, a waiver of the outside storage setback from the right-of-way required 20 feet, proposed 0 feet from Maple Ridge. The property is located on the north side of Maple Ridge Avenue at 20921 Maple Ridge Avenue, Sidwell parcel number 24-35-351-042, zoned I-1 industrial. I make a motion to approve the proposed variances based upon the following. The existing location and height of the mulch piles are done for practical use in order to minimize the risk of spontaneous combustion. The waivers will allow for safe and functional use of the property and will help with noise dampening of operations on the surrounding area. Also, the proposed screening height and setback waivers for the existing use is in keeping with the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance.
Have a second?
Through the chair, could I get a correction to the motion, please? Section 5.28 north side, it's 24 feet tall, not 24 inches, and then south side, 48 feet, not 48 inches. Thank you.
Thank you. Could I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
I approve it, subject to what we talked about, okay?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion is passed. Please work with the city with required permits. Will the city call the next case?
Case number 25-15. The appellant, Ali Mary, representing IMI Ventures LLC, owner, is requesting the following variances from the board. Section 5.169, Part 2, D3. A waiver for the minimum setback from an existing or proposed street right-of-way lines, 40 feet 0 inches required, 34 feet 10 inches proposed along Southfield Road. Section 5.169, Part 2, D3. A waiver for the minimum setback from an existing or proposed street right-of-way lines, 40 feet 0 inches required, 10 feet 0 inches proposed along Stratford Drive. Section 5.170, Part 5, a waiver for front yard landscaping. 50% landscaping within the required front yard, 2,200 square feet required. 10% landscaping within the required front yard, 454 square feet proposed. Section 5.195J, a waiver for the minimum required green belt within the side yard along the street right-of-way, 15 feet 0 inches required, 10 feet 0 inches proposed along Stratford Drive. The property is located on the east side of Southfield Road, south of Stratford Drive at 24412 Southfield Road, Sidwell parcel number 2425151-020, zoned B3, general business. This appeal is to sections 5.169, 5.170, and 5.195, Article 4, Chapter 45 of the Southfield City Code, more commonly known as the zoning ordinance.
Thank you.
Hello, how you doing today? My name is Ali Murray. My address is 26398 Simone, Dearborn Heights, Michigan, 48127.
Hey, could you give us a brief statement of what you're asking for and why?
Yes, I'm asking for a variance. I applied for a variance for the sections that he spoke about for the oil change that we're building today.
Okay. Was that the findings of fact that you just read? Did you just read the findings of fact already, or? Okay. Did the city read the findings of fact, please?
The appellant, Ali Mary, representing IMI Ventures LLC, owner, is requesting the following variances from the board. Section 5.169, paragraph 2, section D, part 3, a waiver for the minimum setback from an existing or proposed street right-of-way line, 40 feet 0 inches is required, 34 feet 10 inches proposed along Southfield Road. Section 5.169, paragraph 2, part D, section 3, a waiver for the minimum setback from an existing or proposed street right-of-way line, 40 feet 0 inches required, 10 feet 0 inches proposed along Stratford Drive. Section 5.170, paragraph 5, a waiver for front yard landscaping, 50% landscaping within the required front yard, 2,200 square feet required, 10% landscaping within the required front yard proposed, which is 454 square feet. Section 5.195, section J, a waiver for the minimum required green belt within the side yard along the street right-of-way, 15 feet 0 inches required, 10 feet 0 inches proposed along Stratford Drive. The property is located on the east side of Southfield Road, south of Stratford Drive at 24412 Southfield Road, Sidwell parcel 2425151-020, Zone B3, General Business. The property is currently vacant with plans to develop an oil change facility on the premises, Zone B3, General Business. The properties to the north and west are Zone OS, Office Service. The property to the south is Zone B3, General Business. The property to the east is zoned R3, Residential. The total site contains 0.42 acres of land with approximately 140 feet of frontage on Southfield Road, 132 feet of frontage on Silver Maple Street, and 132 feet of frontage on Stratford Road. Due to the property's location and surroundings, the proposed building does not meet the setback and landscaping requirement.
Thank you. Do you agree with those facts?
Yes, I do.
Do you have anything else to add?
We had good discussions also with the neighbors, and this is what we came up with, based between the city council and the neighbors. I think we all agreed on this plan. We came to a conclusion, and hopefully this all works out well for everybody.
Great. Would the city read the staff recommendation?
Sir. Staff recommendation is favorable consideration based on the following. The layout of the site will allow for the accommodation of the building and drive-through service bays. Given the commercial character of Southfield Road, the reduced setback is not expected to have adverse effects on adjacent properties. The appellant has worked with the Planning Department and Planning Commission to keep in place a 36-foot green buffer from the adjacent residents to help minimize noise and visual impacts to the homes to the east of the property. This impacts the setbacks and landscaping abilities of the site, thus the waivers. The proposed setback and landscaping variance for the proposed oil change facility is in keeping with the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance.
Thank you. I'd like to open public comment. If anybody's here to speak in this case, please step forward. Seeing none, we'll close public comment and turn over to the board. Mr. Rogers?
I don't have any problems with it. Just had one question.
Yes, sir.
For you. There's no, the entrance and exit is on Southfield Road, right?
Yeah, that's correct. And one of the biggest problems we had in the beginning, which we came to a resolution, was there's only right turn in and right turn out now.
Okay. All right.
And we will be having signage saying oil change approaching in this many feet. That was a discussion we had with the church next door, and they're allowing us hopefully to add signage there too.
Yeah, because I was concerned that people going 45 miles an hour on Southfield Road
Correct.
are going to be able to stop and
Yeah.
turn.
So there is a light a little bit before the church, which that's why we're also here, I guess, for the sign also, so we can put the sign a little closer to the front. So they'll know we're there before they get to us last second and try to make a right turn in. We went to Oakland County, and that was their recommendation for us, for the road commission.
I'm fine with that.
Ms. Levitt?
I have no problem with it.
Mr. Jenkins?
I have no problem.
I have no problems with it either. Anybody want to volunteer to make a motion?
I move to approve.
Okay. Would you be willing to read the details and what you're basing your recommendation, your motion on?
Yeah. The finding facts for ZBA case number 2515, the appellant L.I. Murray, representing IMI Ventures LLC owner, is requesting the following variance from the board. Section 5.1692D3, a waiver for the minimum setback from the existing or proposed street ROW lines, 40 feet 0 inches required, 34 feet 10 inches proposed along Southfield Road. Section 5.1692D3, a waiver for the minimum setback from the existing or proposed street ROW lines, 40-foot 0 required, 10-foot 0 proposed along Stratford Drive. Section 5.1705, a waiver from front yard landscaping, 50% landscaping with a required front yard, 2,200 square feet required, 10% landscaping within the required front yard, 454 square feet proposed. Section 5.195J, a waiver for the minimum required green belt within the side yard along the street ROW, 15-foot high, 0 required, 10-foot, 0 inches proposed along Stratford Drive.
Now skip to the recommendation.
Huh?
Now just say why you're proposing that,
Okay.
the recommendation.
Okay, recommendation. Okay. Recommendations, staff recommendations as well. Staff, okay, favorable considerations based on the following.
Okay.
Number one, the layout of the site.
We've got a relocation.
No, you move it down here.
I know.
Okay,
I made a
okay,
mistake.
okay. Because I was going to read this. The property is located on the east side of Southfield Road, south of Stratford Drive, at 24412 Southfield Road. Sidwell's parcel number 424-25-151-020, zone B3, general business. Okay. Staff recommendation, favorable consideration based on the following. The layout of the site will allow for the accommodation of the building and drive-through service bays. Given the commercial character of the Southfield Road, the reduced setback is not expected to have adverse effect on the adjacent properties. The appellant has worked with the planning department and planning commission to keep in place a 36 feet green buffer from the adjacent residents to help minimize the noise and visual impact of the homes to the east of the property. This impacts the setbacks and landscaping abilities of the site. The proposed setback and landscaping variance for the proposed oil change facility is in keeping with the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance.
I guess
Recommendation is favorable.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion is granted. Please work with the city on your permits.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. The city call the next case.
Case number 25-20. The appellant, Hatem Hanawa, representing 27050 Losser, LLC owner, is requesting the following waivers from the board. 1, a waiver for the width of landscaped greenbelt along Losser Road, 12 feet 6 inches required, 7 feet 7 inches proposed. 2, a waiver for the width of landscaped greenbelt along 11 Mile Road, 12 feet 6 inches required, 9 feet 8 inches proposed, which is a change in the legal notice for items 1 and 2. 3, a waiver for the side yard west setback along 11 Mile Road, 40 feet 0 inches required, 38 feet 4 inches proposed. 4, a waiver for the rear yard east setback, 15 feet required, 9 feet 8 inches proposed. The property is located on the east side of Losser Road at the corner of Losser Road and 11 Mile Road at 27050 Losser Road, Sidwell parcel number 762415353004, zoned B3, general business. This appeal is to Chapter 45, Article 18, Section 5.165, and Article 22, Section 5.194 and 5.195, more commonly known as the zoning ordinance.
Is the appellant here?
Good evening.
Please state your name and address, tell us what you're asking for and why.
Hatem Hanawa, 28124 Orchard Lake Road, Farmington Hills. We're requesting those variances for the setback requirements as well as the building setback along 11 Mile Road. What we're doing is we're enhancing the property tremendously by closing off the driveways off of Lasser, restructuring the pedestrian paths, and working with the planning department. We have incorporated a screen fence, a streetscape wall in lieu of streetscape walls with some minor landscaping. So we're enhancing that corner like tremendously with those features. At the same time, we're trying to create a nicer site which would have a better vehicular flow. The owner purchased a property to the north. We're also creating a link, a vehicular link between the gas station and the building to the north is vacant, but it'll be converted to retail soon. What that helps is with traffic exiting from the gas station today. So we've enhanced it, the plan kind of enhances the vehicular traffic, the sidewalk patterns. They're kind of bad now. We're going to enhance all of that. And still rebuild the gas station building, which will consist of a C-store, small hot food vendor, but at the same time maintaining the auto repair shop, which is something that a lot of customers want to keep there. As you've probably seen a lot of gas stations, they try to make their gas stations as big as possible. And here they're trying to accommodate that one component that customers come for because, of the service and the quickness of the service. So we're trying to incorporate all that, and I think that some of the things that we've done kind of offsets some of the waiver requirements.
Thank you. Would the city read the finding of fact, please?
The appellant, Athir Gappy, representing 27050 Losser LLC, owner, is requesting the following waivers from the board. A waiver for the width of landscape greenbelt along Losser Road, 12 feet 6 inches required, 7 feet 7 inches proposed. A waiver for the width of landscape greenbelt along 11 Mile Road, 12 foot 6 inches required, 9 feet 8 inches proposed. A waiver for the side yard setback along 11 Mile, 40 feet 0 inches required, 38 feet 4 inches proposed. A waiver for the rear yard setback along the east property line, 15 feet required, 9 feet 8 inches proposed. The property is located on the east side of Lasser Road at the corner of Lasser Road and 11 Mile at 27050 Lasser Road, Sidwell 2415353-004, Zone B3 General Business. The property is currently developed as a Shell gas station, Zone B3 General Business. The property to the north and east is Zone NS Neighborhood Shopping. The property to the south is Zone B3 General Business. The properties to the west are Zone B3 General Business and R2 Single Family. The total site contains 0.68 acres of land with approximately 153 feet of frontage on Losser Road and 157 feet on 11 Mile Road. Due to the property's location, the new proposed building does not meet the setback requirements for the rear and side yard setback. Additionally, the proposed landscape greenbelt does not meet the minimum requirement.
Do you have any corrections to those facts or additional facts you'd like to add?
No, they're all correct.
Thank you. Now we'll open public comment on this case. If anybody would like to speak on this case, please step forward. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Could the city read the staff recommendation, please?
Staff recommendation is favorable consideration based upon the following. Setback waivers are not expected to have adverse effects on the surrounding properties. The rear of the building faces a parking lot for the adjacent strip mall center. The waiver will improve the aesthetics and functionality of the site and help with the traffic flow. The proposed variance for landscaping along 11 Mile and Losser Road has been decreased from the initial submittals. The owner has worked with the planning department to reduce the required variances. Additionally, if this property was not located on a corner lot or if the building were addressed on 11 Mile Road, the rear setback waiver would not be needed as there is a 0 foot, 0 inches setback requirement for the rear yard.
Thank you. I'll turn it over to the board. Mr. Jenkins.
I have no objection, I approve.
Ms. Libet.
I have no objection.
Mr. Rogers.
I'm fine with this.
As am I. Would somebody like to volunteer to make a motion?
Sure. Concerning ZBA case 25-20, the appellant Anthea Gappy, representing 27050 Losser LLC owner, is requesting the following waivers from the board: a waiver for the width of the landscape green belt along Losser Road, 12.5 required, 7.7 proposed; a waiver for the width of the landscape green belt along 11 Mile Road, 12 feet 5 inch required, 9 feet 8 inches proposed; and a waiver for the side yard west setback along 11 Mile Road, 40 feet required, 38.4 or 38 feet 4 inches proposed, and a waiver for the rear yard east setback, 15 feet required, 9 feet 8 inches proposed. The property is located on the east side of Losser Road at the corner of Losser Road and 11 Mile Road at 27050 Losser Road. Sidwell parcel number 76-24-15-353-004, Zone B3 General Business. I move favorable consideration of the above waivers because are based on the fact that there are no adverse effects on the surrounding properties. The waiver will improve the aesthetics and functionality of the site and help with the traffic flow, and that the proposed variance for landscaping along 11 Mile and Losser Road has been decreased from initial submittals, and I so move.
I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion, the waiver is approved. Please work with the city on your permits. Would the city call the next case, please?
Case number 25-21. The appellant, Rebecca Lazarus, representing SLT Holdings LLC owner, is requesting the following permit from the board. A temporary use permit is requested in order to place a freestanding 8-foot by 20-foot by 9-foot exterior freezer on the property. The property is located on the north side of Northwestern Highway between Telegraph Road and Bell Road at 27522 Northwestern Highway. Sidwell parcel number 76-24-17-426-014, zoned B3, general business. This appeal is to Chapter 45, Article 23, Section 5.198, more commonly known as the zoning ordinance.
Thank you. Would you state your name and address and tell us what you're asking for and why?
Yes. Good evening. My name is Rebecca Lazarus. I live at 7375 East Joy Road in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I'm here representing my clients, SLT Holdings and New Soul Market, i.e. Tiger Market. SLT Holdings is the property owner of 27522 Northwestern Highway, and Tiger Market is the tenant that leases the building. Tiger Market is a locally owned grocery store specializing in authentic Asian and international foods that are essential to daily life for many families across our Tri-County area. As you are all aware, the grocery store business is highly competitive and faces mounting challenges from rising inflation, volatile import tariffs, and increasing supplier demand costs. For these reasons, it has forced us to change the way we operate. One of the most significant adjustments we've had to make is how we manage our inventory. To keep prices low, we've moved away from just-in-time deliveries and now purchase goods in a larger quantities. This strategy helps us maintain our costs, but it has also created a new challenge. We need more freezer space. Much of our inventories, especially meats, desserts, seafoods, and specialty frozen goods, are perishable. To ensure we can continue to serve our community effectively, we are requesting approval to place a temporary freestanding self-contained freezer unit on the east side of our building for a period of 24 months, as shown in this drawing. The unit we're proposing measures approximately 8 feet by 20 feet by 9 feet and will be located in our parking lot. We've also provided a photo of the unit. It should be in your packet. It's a basic, clean, white container, nothing flashy, designed simply to keep things cold. We are mindful of the aesthetics and the safety of the surrounding area, and the unit will be placed strategically to avoid any disruption to traffic flow or customer parking. It will be self-contained, quiet, and professionally maintained throughout the use. We hope pricing in the supply chain stabilizes soon, but until that happens, this freezer is a critical piece of our strategy to continue to serve our community. We're committed to being good neighbors. SLT Holdings and Tiger Market take pride not just in what we offer inside the store, but in how we continue to support our community. Approving this request will directly help us keep our food affordable, preserve product quality, and continue serving the diverse needs of our customer base. Again, we respectfully request that you support this temporary use permit. This is a small ask and will have a big impact, and it will make a meaningful difference to our operations and to the many families who rely on Tiger Market for culturally important food and affordable food. Thank you for your time and consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Will the city read the findings back?
Through the chair real quick, per the ordinance, for a temporary use permit, it's initial 12 months with a 12-month renewal. So we're going to have to come back here next year and do the same thing.
Yep.
So we'll just have to make that in the motion.
We will likely be approving 1 year with an option for coming back.
All right. The appellant, Rebecca Lazarus, representing SLT Holdings, LLC, owner, is requesting the following permit from the board. A temporary use permit is requested in order to place a freestanding 8-foot by 20-foot by 9-foot exterior freezer on the property. The property is located on the north side of Northwestern Highway between Telegraph Road and Bell Road at 27522 Northwestern Highway, Sidwell 2417-426-014, Zone B3 General Business. The property is currently developed as the Tiger Market Grocery Store, Zone B3 General Business. The property to the north is Zone RMU Multifamily High Rise. The property to the south is the Northwestern Highway Service Drive. The property to the west is Zone B3 General Business. The total site contains 1.82 acres of land with approximately 235 feet of frontage on Northwestern Highway Service Drive. Due to the property's desire to have a temporary freezer on site, any temporary structure that is to be placed on site is required to receive a temporary use permit from the zoning board.
Thank you. Do you agree with those facts or have any other facts to add?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. We'll now open public comment. If anybody would like to speak on this case, please step forward to the microphone. Seeing none, close public comment. Would the staff read the city recommendation?
Staff recommendation is favorable consideration based upon the following. Temporary use of an industrial freezer is not expected to have adverse effects on the surrounding properties. The placement of the freezer will limit the impact on parking for the site while optimizing its use and location for storage by the business. The proposed structure and the issuance of a temporary use permit is in keeping with the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance.
Thank you. Turn over to the board, Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, one question, a couple questions for you. Is this temporary freezer, are you adding onto the building?
No, it's freestanding.
Okay, so the temporary freezer, I thought for initially when I saw this case that you were putting things in there because you were making an addition, an actual physical addition to the building, but that's not what you're doing.
No, this is just.
You're just trying to control inventory, buying a bulk
More.
and not having to buy on demand.
Correct. Because of tariff volatility, we need to purchase in larger quantities, but in order to hold that quantity, that inventory, typically we have a very small back of the storage area, but we have large refrigerators and a small freezer, but typically we would just take it in and then put it right on the floor. But given the situation of the climate right now, we've had to, in order to keep our prices at a reasonable level, we need to purchase larger quantities.
So this is your way of temporarily trying to alleviate what the problem is currently in current economic conditions.
Right.
With the hope that if you have this for 1 year, or maybe a second year perhaps, that'll do the trick?
Yes, we have to, in order to get a reasonable lease, because we're leasing it from a company called Polar Leasing, they kind of have the standardized in these freestanding freezers. In order to get a reasonable lease rate, we do need to commit to 2 years, or else the rate becomes unaffordable and it doesn't really make much sense. But 2 years, we'll come back in another year and hopefully you'll approve the extension for the other 12 months. But that is why we initially asked for 24.
I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in year 3 or 4, whatever. I guess that you're worried about today, and that's all we're talking about. Yeah, I have no problem with the actual temporary freezer.
Ms. Libet?
I have no problem.
Mr. Jenkins?
No, I have no problem.
Mr. Rogers, would you want to make a motion?
I will. In regard to ZBA case 25-21, the appellant Rebecca Lazarus, representing SLT Holdings LLC, owner, is requesting the following permit from the board. A temporary use permit is requested in order to place a freestanding 8-foot by 20-foot by 9-foot exterior freezer on the property. The property is located at 27522 Northwestern Highway, Sidwell parcel number 76-24-17-426-014, Zone B3, General Business. I make a motion to approve this requested temporary use permit. Based upon the following, the temporary use of an industrial freezer is not expected to have adverse effects on the surrounding properties. The placement of the freezer will limit the impact on parking for the site while optimizing its use and location for storage by the business, and that the proposed structure and the issuance of a temporary use permit is in keeping with the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion is granted, the variance is granted. The city on
Thank you.
might need.
That motion should have included 1 year.
Those are the cases. We have minutes to approve.
It's not in
Does anybody have any changes?
It's not in there.
So a quick thing, my
motion
motion didn't specify
1 year.
Nothing was written here.
We need to put that in
Is it
there.
assumed it's 1 year because you can't request 2?
Well, we granted them a temporary use waiver, and we discussed 1 year in our minutes, so I guess it is 1 year.
Okay.
What we're saying is that we didn't put it in.
We said it was
in the
temporary.
motion for 1 year.
He didn't specify in his motion that it was 1 year, but I don't think
That's
that's.
fine, because the ordinance specifies for you.
Okay.
Yeah, right, it's only 1 year on,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
1
Uh,
year with a 1-year renewal.
Right.
So we have minutes to approve. Does anybody have any changes? If not, can I get a motion to approve those minutes?
Move approval of the minutes as submitted.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Anything to add on the upcoming meetings?
So far, we still just have one case for the August 19th meeting, but the deadline for that is July 14th. So I would anticipate that we'll probably have that meeting. As long as I get a second case, we'll have it, but they still have 2 weeks to apply, so.
Okay, any miscellaneous?
None at this time.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Do I hit this thing again? Do they, is that, they need-